Imagine if just one sentence, one single verse, had the power to change everything about your financial reality. Not tomorrow, not next year, but instantly. What if the difference between struggle and abundance wasn't about working harder, chasing opportunities, or waiting for luck, but about unlocking a divine law that has always been available to you? Today, I'm going to show you the verse that doesn't just talk about wealth, it commands it to appear in your life. Wealth is not something far away, reserved for a chosen few, or something that has to be earned through endless struggle. Wealth is already yours by divine right, and the moment you realize this truth, life begins to change. You are not separate from abundance, you are an expression of it. Every tree, every ocean, every star in the sky is proof that the universe knows only infinite supply. If nature never runs out of rain, if the sun never runs out of light, if the earth never runs out of renewal, how could it be that you, as a divine creation, could ever be destined for lack? The truth is that poverty is not part of your spiritual inheritance. Abundance is. The moment you align your thoughts with this reality, you step into the flow of wealth that has always been waiting for you. This is why so many people fail to attract what they want. They believe that wealth is something external, something they have to chase, beg for, or work themselves into the ground to obtain. They see it as a prize that exists outside of them, not as a birthright that is already encoded in their being. The truth is that everything you desire exists first in consciousness. If you carry the belief that you are poor, limited, or unworthy, then no strategy or opportunity will change your condition, because you are closing the door on supply with your own thoughts. But the moment you shift inward and claim wealth as something that already belongs to you, life begins to reorganize to reflect that certainty. Wealth appears not because it is newly created, but because you finally give yourself permission to see and receive it. When you look at the lives of people who live abundantly, you notice something beyond their actions. Yes, they may take bold steps, create businesses, or seize opportunities, but beneath all of that is a deep conviction that wealth is natural to them. They expect it, they speak it, they live as though it is inevitable. This inner knowing draws wealth to them just as a magnet draws metal. You may have wondered why two people can work equally hard, have access to similar opportunities, and yet one prospers while the other struggles endlessly. The difference is not effort, it is consciousness. One has claimed abundance as their divine right, while the other is still chained to the illusion of lack. Claiming wealth as your birthright is not arrogance, it is alignment with truth. You were not created to live in fear, stress, and limitation. You were created to reflect the fullness of the divine, and the divine is never in lack. When you realize this, your relationship with money changes. Money ceases to be a struggle and becomes a channel through which abundance flows. You stop chasing it and instead attract it naturally, because you understand that you and wealth are not separate. You are two expressions of the same universal energy. This understanding also dissolves fear. Many people live in constant anxiety about not having enough, about bills, about debt, about the uncertainty of the future. But when you recognize that wealth is already yours, that the universe cannot withhold from you what you claim with faith, fear loses its grip. You no longer beg life for provision. You declare it. You no longer wonder if you'll be taken care of. You know you are sustained by a source that never runs dry. This shift in consciousness brings peace, confidence, and freedom. It allows you to take action not from desperation, but from inspiration, and that is when opportunities flow effortlessly. The more you affirm and embody this truth, the more it manifests. Wealth responds to belief the way a seed responds to fertile soil. You do not have to force it, you simply have to align yourself with it. Instead of constantly striving and pushing, You rest in the knowing that abundance is already yours. This certainty opens the channels through which money, resources, and opportunities can reach you. The world mirrors your inner conviction. If you see yourself as rich in spirit, rich in possibility, rich in love, rich in gratitude, material wealth naturally follows. So when you think of wealth, do not imagine it as something distant or elusive. Do not imagine it as something you must earn with endless effort. See it for what it truly is, your divine inheritance, your natural state, your right by virtue of being alive. Claim it with confidence, speak it with faith, live as though it is already present, because in truth it always has been. The universe does not know lack, and neither should you. It is easy to believe that if you just find the right formula, the right method, or the right secret, then wealth will come flooding into your life. This belief keeps many people searching endlessly for strategies, courses, or techniques that promise prosperity, yet the results are inconsistent and often disappointing. The reason is simple. Strategies by themselves are powerless unless they are charged with faith, conviction, and energy. Many people have access to the exact same knowledge, the same teachings, even the same sacred verses, but the outcomes they create are completely different. One person sees transformation, doors open, opportunities flow, while another remains stuck in struggle. The difference lies not in the information, but in the consciousness that applies it. Every thought and every word carries vibration, and that vibration is what determines whether the seeds of knowledge take root or wither away. Two people can affirm the same verse, one with deep belief and absolute certainty, and the other with hesitation and doubt. The first experiences manifestation, the second experiences delay or nothing at all. It is not because the verse lacks power, it is because the energy behind it is not aligned. Divine truth is always alive and ready to manifest, but it requires a channel of faith to flow through. Your consciousness is that channel. When it is clear, open, and charged with conviction, even the simplest affirmation can create extraordinary wealth. When it is blocked by fear or disbelief, even the most powerful strategy cannot bear fruit. This is why people often wonder how someone else with fewer resources, less education, or less apparent opportunity can rise to abundance while they themselves remain stuck despite having more knowledge or tools. The answer is that wealth flows not to the one who merely knows, but to the one who believes and acts from that belief. Knowledge without faith is like a lamp with no oil. It cannot produce light. Faith without knowledge may seem small, but even a flicker of it can ignite transformation, because faith activates the unseen laws that govern abundance. Mindset is the multiplier that determines the effect of any strategy. If you hold a mindset of lack, every opportunity will seem insufficient, every door will appear closed, and every attempt will feel like a failure. If you hold a mindset of abundance, you see possibility in every situation. You recognize opportunities where others see none, and you persist with confidence until wealth appears in tangible form. The strategy did not change, but the consciousness applying it did. That shift in perception is what makes the difference between struggle and prosperity. It is also important to understand that wealth does not flow from external strategies alone. It flows from alignment with divine law. The universe operates on principles of abundance, giving, and expansion. When you align your inner state with these principles, wealth appears naturally. You may use strategies as vehicles, but the real source of prosperity is your alignment. Without alignment, strategies feel heavy, forced, and unproductive. With alignment, even the smallest action brings multiplied results. This is why one person's effort produces little, while another's effort produces abundance. The second is aligned with the current of divine supply, while the first is resisting it through doubt and fear. The way you show up to any practice, affirmation, or action determines the harvest you receive. If you affirm abundance but secretly expect failure, you are planting mixed seeds that cannot grow strong. If you affirm wealth with absolute certainty, as if it is already present, you create fertile ground where manifestation happens quickly. The law is impartial. It gives you exactly what your dominant belief declares. If lack dominates your thoughts, lack multiplies. If abundance dominates, abundance multiplies. So the difference is never in the words spoken or the strategy applied, but in the power and faith that energize them. The same affirmation that sits lifeless on the lips of one person can move mountains when spoken with conviction by another. The same opportunity that fails in one set of hands can blossom in another because of the energy carried into it. This is why success is never just about knowing. It is about becoming. It is about embodying the certainty that wealth is already yours and allowing that certainty to flow into every word, thought, and action. When you realize this truth, you stop searching desperately for the next method or secret. You recognize that strategies are tools, and tools only work in skilled, confident hands. What matters most is the consciousness you bring to the tool, the faith that fuels it, and the energy that sustains it. With that alignment, even the simplest strategy becomes unstoppable. Without it, even the most brilliant plan remains powerless. Wealth does not appear because of the strategy itself, but because of the energy of belief that activates it, and the certainty that keeps it alive until it manifests. A strategy can point the way forward, but it cannot walk the path for you. It is like having a map that shows every road, every turn, every destination, yet if the car has no fuel, no engine, and no driver, the map is useless. In business, in life, in the pursuit of wealth, the same principle applies. Strategy may provide the structure, but it is energy, execution, and leadership that bring it to life. Without energy, the strategy sits idle. Without execution, it remains theory. Without leadership, it lacks direction and purpose. The combination of these forces is what transforms a plan into results and potential into reality. Energy is the fuel that ignites movement. It is the unseen force that animates ideas and sustains effort. You can hand two people the same strategy, but if one approaches it drained, hesitant, or uninspired, and the other approaches it with excitement, passion, and conviction, the outcomes will never be the same. Energy determines how consistently you show up, how you handle obstacles, and how much persistence you bring when things don't go as planned. Abundance responds to vibrancy. When your energy is aligned with certainty and enthusiasm, doors open, opportunities emerge, and momentum builds. When your energy is rooted in fear or apathy, progress stalls no matter how clever the plan looks on paper. Execution is the engine that keeps the vehicle moving. Ideas are abundant and strategies are everywhere, but what separates dreamers from achievers is the discipline of consistent action. Execution turns theory into practice and practice into mastery. Too many people gather strategies, read books, take courses, and design elaborate plans, but they never fully execute. They stop at the first challenge. They delay until conditions are perfect, or they dabble without commitment. Yet it is the steady, disciplined, daily execution that compounds over time to produce wealth and scale a business. Even a flawed strategy, if executed consistently, can create powerful results, while a perfect strategy without execution produces nothing but frustration. Execution transforms knowledge into tangible outcomes. Leadership is the driver, the one who decides how to steer, when to accelerate, when to slow down, and how to navigate obstacles along the way. Leadership is not simply about giving instructions. It is about embodying certainty and vision so powerfully that others are compelled to follow. A leader does not rely on the map alone, but interprets it, adapts it, and inspires others to stay on course even when the terrain shifts. In the face of uncertainty, leadership is what keeps energy directed and execution consistent. Without leadership, even a motivated team can scatter their energy in different directions, creating chaos instead of progress. Leadership brings focus, alignment, and confidence. When energy, execution, and leadership come together, strategy becomes alive. A map paired with fuel, engine, and driver doesn't just show potential, it carries you to the destination. The synergy of these elements multiplies results. Energy without execution dissipates. Execution without leadership burns out. Leadership without energy lacks momentum, but when all three are in harmony, the journey feels unstoppable. Strategies that once seemed difficult or distant begin to produce results naturally, because the inner forces driving them are strong. It is easy to fall into the trap of believing that if only you had the right plan, everything would fall into place. But history is full of examples of people with brilliant strategies who failed, and others with modest strategies who succeeded beyond expectation. The difference was not in the map, but in the driver, the engine, and the fuel. The map is important, but it is powerless without the life behind it. To scale wealth or business, focus not only on the structure of your plan, but on the energy you bring, the discipline with which you execute, and the leadership that directs it all. Only then does strategy become more than lines on paper. It becomes the pathway to the reality you seek. Many people spend their lives chasing after wealth as if it is something distant, hidden, or withheld from them. But the deeper truth is that abundance is already present, already flowing, already available in ways most fail to recognize. The world is not lacking in resources, opportunities, or supply. It is overflowing with them. What creates the experience of lack is not the absence of wealth, but the perception that it is missing. That perception blinds people to the flow of good that surrounds them, causing them to grasp and strive as though they are trying to capture something that is running away. In reality, wealth does not need to be chased. It needs to be recognized, aligned with, and received. When you shift from the mindset of pursuit to the awareness of presence, you begin to unlock the truth that prosperity is your natural state. The idea that abundance is already yours is rooted in the universal principle that creation is finished. Everything you could ever desire already exists in potential form, waiting for you to align with it. Just as radio waves are constantly moving through the air, but only become audible when tuned to the right frequency, wealth is constantly flowing through life, but only becomes visible when you tune your consciousness to abundance. When you live in the frequency of lack, you tune into scarcity, obstacles, and closed doors. When you live in the frequency of abundance, you suddenly notice opportunities, resources, and open doors that were invisible before. Nothing in the external world has changed, but your awareness shifts, and with it, your entire experience of life. Chasing after wealth often creates more distance between you and it, because chasing implies that you do not already have it. The very act of pursuing something declares to the universe that it is absent, and the universe responds by confirming that absence in your reality. This is why so many people work harder and harder, yet seem to remain in the same financial struggle. Their effort is rooted in the belief that wealth is far away, and so they keep themselves locked in that cycle of separation. On the other hand, those who anchor themselves in the truth that abundance is already here radiate a completely different energy. Their decisions carry certainty, their actions flow with ease, and their presence attracts resources because they are no longer striving, they are allowing. This shift from pursuit to recognition is the difference between struggle and flow. When you recognize abundance as your natural state, you stop asking when it will come and start acting as though it is already present. You speak differently, carry yourself differently, and engage with others from a place of fullness rather than neediness. This energy magnetizes wealth to you because people, opportunities, and resources are naturally drawn to certainty and confidence. You no longer repel prosperity with desperation or fear. Instead, you invite it by embodying the truth of its existence. It is also important to understand that abundance is not limited to money. Wealth is expressed in health, relationships, creativity, peace, and opportunities. When you align with the vibration of abundance in one area of life, it spills over into others. You begin to notice synchronicities, coincidences, and blessings that confirm the reality of wealth surrounding you. You might receive unexpected financial opportunities, but you also experience breakthroughs in areas that once felt stuck. The presence of abundance becomes undeniable because it touches every part of your existence. Recognizing that abundance is already here does not mean you stop taking action. It means your actions are no longer rooted in fear or struggle. Instead of working from a place of trying to earn wealth, you work from a place of expressing wealth. You see your efforts not as a desperate attempt to create something out of nothing, but as a joyful participation in the flow that already exists. This shift in perspective transforms how you show up to work, how you make decisions, and how you handle challenges. Obstacles lose their power to intimidate you because you know they are only temporary illusions, unable to disrupt the eternal presence of abundance. Truth is that lack is only a shadow cast by the belief in separation. When you stop identifying with that illusion and anchor yourself in the certainty that abundance is already yours, life begins to reflect that belief back to you in tangible form. Money flows in, opportunities arise, connections appear, and doors open. What seemed impossible becomes natural because you are no longer resisting wealth. You are allowing it to reveal itself. Wealth is not something you have to chase across the horizon. It is already surrounding you, waiting for you to recognize it, claim it, and live in harmony with it. Words are not just sounds carried on air. They are powerful creative forces that shape the very fabric of reality. Every word you speak plants a seed, and every thought you repeat waters that seed until it grows into an experience that manifests in your life. This is why the ancient scriptures and spiritual teachings place so much emphasis on the spoken word and the declarations of faith. Words are not idle. They are alive, carrying vibrations that either open the door to abundance or reinforce the walls of limitation. When combined with faith, words take on an unstoppable creative power, forming the invisible bridge between what you desire and what you experience. Faith is the soil that gives life to the seeds of your words, ensuring they take root and grow into tangible prosperity. When someone speaks words of lack, even casually, they are sowing seeds of poverty into their own experience. Phrases like, "I can't afford this," "money never stays with me," or "opportunities never come my way," are not simply expressions of frustration. They are commands given to the subconscious mind and declarations to the universe. Those words reinforce limitation, and the soil of faith, whether conscious or unconscious, causes them to grow. Faith does not discriminate between positive and negative. It simply gives life to what is spoken with belief. If you continually speak words of doubt, fear, and limitation, you will see their fruit in your life, often without realizing you created it yourself. On the other hand, when you speak words of abundance with conviction, you are sowing seeds of prosperity that cannot fail to manifest. Declarations such as "wealth flows to me easily," "I always attract opportunities," or "my supply is unlimited," carry vibrations that align with the reality of abundance. When these words are spoken not as wishful thinking but with genuine faith, they take on creative power that rearranges circumstances and opens unexpected pathways. The universe responds to the vibration of conviction, not hesitation, and it mirrors back the energy you release into it. Words spoken with faith become self-full, filling prophecies that call forth the reality they describe. Faith is the key that activates the words you speak. Without faith, words are empty and powerless, like seeds scattered on barren ground. With faith, even the smallest declaration carries the potential to produce a mighty harvest. Faith is not simply hoping or wishing. It is knowing with absolute certainty that what you declare is already true. It is the inner assurance that abundance is not in the future but already present, waiting to be revealed. When words are spoken from this place of certainty, they penetrate deep into the subconscious mind, rewrite limiting beliefs, and resonate with the universal laws that govern creation. They bypass doubt and resistance, aligning your entire being with the reality of wealth. This is why constant repetition of words of abundance is so powerful. Repetition imprints truth onto the subconscious mind until it becomes second nature. At first, speaking affirmations of prosperity may feel unnatural or forced, especially if you have spent years repeating words of lack. But as you continue, the soil of faith begins to absorb those seeds, and your inner belief shifts. Over time, what once felt like a statement of hope transforms into a declaration of fact. The subconscious mind, unable to distinguish between imagination and reality, accepts the repeated words as truth and begins to shape your actions, decisions, and perception in alignment with them. This is how words create not just external wealth, but internal certainty. It is important to understand that words do not work by magic in isolation. They work because they align your consciousness with the reality you seek. When you speak words of abundance with faith, you are attuning your energy to prosperity, and that vibration attracts matching experiences. Your words set the tone of your energy shapes your actions, and your actions open the pathways through which wealth flows. The more aligned your words and faith become, the faster and more powerfully abundance manifests. Every word carries creative potential, and every moment gives you the choice to sow seeds of lack or seeds of abundance. By choosing your words with awareness and combining them with unwavering faith, you harness the same creative force that shapes the universe. Words are the tools given to you to call forth what already exists in spirit into visible form. Speak lack, and lack appears. Speak abundance, and abundance manifests. The law does not fail, for it is universal and eternal. When you understand this principle and begin to live it, you realize that your words are not idle expressions, but powerful forces shaping the destiny of your life. Instant wealth is not about waiting for years of grinding or struggling for opportunities to appear. It is about aligning yourself so fully with the truth of abundance that it manifests in tangible form right now. When your words and your faith are in harmony, you release a signal so clear and so powerful that the universe cannot help but respond. This alignment creates an energetic certainty that dissolves delay and resistance. Instead of wealth being something you hope for in the future, it becomes something that emerges in the present. The shift is subtle but profound. You are no longer trying to make wealth happen. You are allowing what is already yours to reveal itself in your experience. Many people unknowingly block this instant manifestation by speaking abundance but holding doubt in their hearts. They may say the words, "I am wealthy," but internally question whether it is true, and that conflict creates a vibration of resistance. The universe responds not to the words alone, but to the energy behind them. So when words and faith contradict each other, results are delayed. But when words are spoken with full conviction, when faith matches the declaration, there is no conflict and no resistance. The vibration is pure, and the manifestation is immediate because there is nothing to block it. Instant wealth does not require time, it requires alignment. This is why conviction is so important. When you speak with conviction, you do not beg, plead, or wish for wealth. You claim it as a reality. Conviction comes from knowing that the supply of the universe is infinite, and that lack is only an illusion. It is not about arrogance or ego, but about standing in the truth of divine law. When you speak wealth into existence with unwavering certainty, you activate a magnetic power that draws resources, opportunities, and people into your life in ways that seem miraculous. These miracles are not exceptions to the rule. They are demonstrations of the law, working perfectly when aligned with faith. The instant nature of this manifestation often surprises people because they expect wealth to arrive only through long, gradual processes. They imagine it must take years to build, but the universe does not operate by human timelines. Once your consciousness shifts, opportunities appear out of nowhere, debts are unexpectedly cleared, doors swing open, and creative ideas arrive that lead to financial breakthroughs. These events may look like sudden luck from the outside, but they are the direct result of aligning words with faith. What took others decades to achieve can unfold in your life with speed and ease because you are not relying on effort alone. You are drawing on universal law. It is also essential to recognize that instant wealth does not always come in the exact form you expect. Sometimes it shows up as a sudden business opportunity, an inspired idea, or a relationship that leads to prosperity. Other times it comes as resources, gifts, or solutions that free you financially. The form may vary, but the essence is always the same. Your needs are met, your abundance is visible, and wealth flows in alignment with your declaration. By remaining open and receptive, you allow wealth to appear in ways beyond your imagination, and you realize that the universe is infinitely creative in how it delivers prosperity. This process of alignment requires consistency. One declaration of wealth may ignite a spark, but sustained repetition with faith creates momentum that cannot be stopped. Each time you affirm abundance with certainty, you are strengthening the signal you send into the universe, and each repetition deepens the alignment. Doubt gradually dissolves and confidence takes root. Over time, instant manifestation becomes natural because your words and faith are no longer separate. They are one. You speak abundance because you believe it, and you believe it because you have seen it manifest. This cycle of reinforcement builds a foundation of prosperity that continues to expand. Ultimately, instant wealth is not about chasing money, but about realizing your oneness with infinite supply. When words and faith align, you no longer question whether abundance will come. You know it is already here, and you simply allow it to reveal itself. This inner knowing transforms every aspect of your life. You carry yourself differently, make decisions differently, and interact with others from a place of confidence and generosity. Wealth then flows to you not just as money, but as freedom, peace, and opportunities that support your highest good. This is the true power of aligning words with faith. It collapses time, dissolves obstacles, and allows the abundance of the universe to appear instantly in your life. The universe is not random, chaotic, or selective in how it responds. It is precise, consistent, and governed by law. When you release words of faith, you activate a universal law that responds to vibration instantly. Just as gravity never delays in pulling an object toward the earth, the universe never delays in responding to the energy you project through your words. The reason people believe it takes time for wealth to appear is not because the universe is slow, but because their own doubt, fear, or conflicting energy creates resistance. The law itself works immediately, but the individual may not always be in full alignment with what they are declaring. Once the inner conflict is dissolved and faith is pure, the response feels instantaneous because the universe reorganizes itself to bring the visible evidence of what has already been claimed. It is crucial to understand that the universe does not distinguish between positive or negative declarations. It responds with perfect neutrality. If someone repeatedly declares lack, even without realizing it, the universe instantly reflects that energy by creating experiences of lack. If someone consistently declares abundance with conviction, the universe responds just as immediately by opening channels for prosperity. The timing is never the issue. Alignment is the issue. The law is always working, and it is always working right now. This means that your present circumstances are simply a reflection of the words and beliefs you have consistently projected. Change the projection, and the reflection changes just as surely as a mirror shifts when you move. When you grasp this principle, you realize how powerful your words truly are. Every time you speak, you are giving instructions to the universe. You are programming the energy around you to organize itself in alignment with your declarations. The reason this feels miraculous when wealth suddenly appears is that most people are unaware of the constant power of their words. They treat affirmations or prayers as rituals performed occasionally, rather than recognizing that every word, whether casual or deliberate, carries creative force. The universe does not wait for a special moment to respond. It is responding now, instantly, to the vibration behind each word you release. This is why consistency and clarity are so vital. When you speak abundance one moment but cancel it with words of doubt the next, you are sending conflicting signals that disrupt the flow of manifestation. The universe does not delay. It simply mirrors the mixed vibration you emit, producing inconsistent or partial results. But when you commit fully to words of abundance and back them with faith, you release a clear, unbroken signal that the universe answers immediately. The reorganization of circumstances might look gradual to human perception, but the law has already responded the moment the word was spoken in faith. The idea that the universe responds instantly also frees you from waiting for the right conditions before claiming wealth. You do not need to wait for the economy to improve, for someone to help you, or for years of effort to pass. The law of the universe is not bound by outer conditions. It operates independently of them. The moment you align your words and faith, the universe begins shifting everything necessary to fulfill your declaration. Opportunities, resources, and ideas that were invisible suddenly become clear, and connections that seemed impossible are established. What appeared as chance encounters or strokes of luck are simply the universe rearranging itself in response to your energy. Recognizing this instant response also teaches you responsibility. If your reality is a reflection of your declarations, then you cannot blame external forces for prolonged lack or struggle. This awareness is liberating because it places the power back in your hands. By changing your words and aligning them with faith, you change the entire trajectory of your life. The instant response of the universe is not a punishment or a reward. It is simply a reflection of the vibration you consistently project. The responsibility lies in becoming conscious of the words you release and ensuring they align with the abundance you seek. Over time, as you continue to practice speaking words of wealth with unwavering faith, you begin to notice how quickly circumstances shift in your favor. Situations that once felt stuck move effortlessly, people who can help appear at the perfect moment, and ideas that generate prosperity come as sudden inspiration. These experiences reinforce your faith, making it easier to continue declaring abundance with confidence. The instant nature of the universe's response becomes undeniable because you have witnessed it again and again in your own life. What once felt like theory becomes lived reality, and your trust in the law deepens. The universe does not withhold, delay, or resist. It mirrors. The instant you align your words with faith, it reflects abundance back to you in the most direct and creative ways possible. The more you recognize and trust this process, the more naturally and powerfully you speak wealth into existence. Wealth then ceases to be something you chase or wait for. It becomes something you command through the natural laws that govern all creation. This realization transforms your relationship with prosperity forever, because you no longer see wealth as distant or conditional. You see it as immediate, inevitable, and always available to those who align their words and faith with truth. Lack only exists as an appearance, a shadow that convinces people they are cut off from supply, when in truth they are eternally connected to infinite abundance. The human mind, conditioned by fear and scarcity, interprets temporary conditions as permanent realities. When someone looks at an empty bank account or unpaid bills, the immediate conclusion is that lack is real, but that conclusion is based on appearances, not truth. The deeper truth is that abundance is the eternal state of the universe. Nature itself demonstrates this reality. Trees produce countless leaves, rivers flow endlessly, stars multiply beyond counting, and the earth itself continually replenishes resources. Everywhere in creation, the law of abundance is visible, reminding us that lack has no true foundation. What we call lack is nothing more than a temporary illusion created by our perception and sustained by our belief in limitation. When you accept lack as reality, you give it power. You begin to speak it, think it, and reinforce it until it solidifies in your experience. But when you shift your consciousness to recognize that lack is only an illusion, you withdraw that power, and instantly the illusion begins to dissolve. This is why aligning your words and faith is so critical. When you speak abundance, even when appearances suggest lack, you are refusing to feed the illusion and choosing instead to affirm truth. You are declaring that abundance is your reality, regardless of what the outer world shows. This act of faith pierces the illusion of lack and begins to reveal the underlying abundance that has always been present. The key to overcoming the illusion of lack is persistence. The mind is deeply trained to believe in limitation, to expect struggle, and to prepare for disappointment. These patterns are reinforced by culture, family, and society, which often operate from a scarcity mindset. But persistence in declaring abundance rewrites these patterns. Each repetition of truth builds new pathways in the mind, weakening the grip of fear and strengthening faith in supply. Over time, the old conditioning loses its hold, and you begin to see evidence of abundance everywhere. Opportunities appear where none seemed possible. Resources flow from unexpected directions, and your entire perspective shifts. What once felt like scarcity now looks like possibility, because you are no longer blinded by the illusion. Another important truth is that lack often disguises itself as waiting. People believe abundance is somewhere in the future, waiting to be achieved after enough effort, saving, or hard work. But this is simply another form of the illusion. Abundance is not waiting in the future. It exists here and now. The only thing that separates you from experiencing it is belief. The moment you claim it, you step out of waiting and into receiving. This is why so many spiritual teachers emphasize the power of declaring wealth as already present. By speaking it as current reality, you align with the truth and dissolve the illusion of waiting. The more you practice this, the more you realize that wealth is not something you are chasing. It is something you are uncovering. Lack also persists when people tie their sense of worth to external conditions. If you believe you are unworthy of wealth, then every outer appearance of scarcity feels like confirmation. But this too is an illusion. Worth is not earned, it is inherent. Every human being is an expression of infinite intelligence, and by that very nature, worthy of abundance. Recognizing your worth breaks the illusion that wealth is for others but not for you. It aligns you with the truth that the same law of abundance that provides for nature is also at work for you. When you internalize this, the illusion of lack loses all authority because you no longer identify with it. The dissolution of the illusion of lack brings freedom. Instead of living in fear of bills, job loss, or financial uncertainty, you live in trust, knowing that supply is limitless and ever present. This trust empowers you to take inspired action without hesitation, to see opportunities where others see obstacles, and to remain steady even when appearances momentarily suggest scarcity. The illusion may flicker, but it can no longer control you. You walk in the assurance that abundance is your permanent reality, and everything in your life begins to mirror that assurance. The truth is that lack cannot exist where divine supply is infinite. It can only appear as long as it is believed in. Once you stop feeding it with belief and begin affirming abundance with unwavering faith, the illusion collapses and the reality of prosperity takes its place. This is why declaring wealth through words aligned with faith is so powerful. It cuts through illusion and reveals the eternal abundance that has been surrounding you all along. By understanding lack as illusion and abundance as truth, you free yourself to live fully in prosperity, no longer deceived by appearances but anchored in the law of infinite supply that governs all creation. The repetition of truth is what reshapes the mind and builds unshakable faith. And this is why constant repetition of the verse is so powerful. Each time the words are spoken, they are not just empty sounds, but vibrations carrying energy that penetrates the subconscious. The mind is like fertile soil, and whatever is planted in it grows. If seeds of doubt and fear are planted, then poverty, worry, and limitation grow. But if the verse is repeated with conviction, it plants seeds of certainty, wealth, and abundance. Over time, repetition ingrains these seeds so deeply into the subconscious that they begin to sprout naturally into visible results. What once felt like forced affirmations becomes automatic thought, and the mind naturally aligns with prosperity. Doubt is the greatest enemy of manifestation. It whispers that lack is real, that wealth is for others but not for you, that your efforts will not work. These thoughts weaken the energy of your declarations, creating resistance that blocks the flow of supply. But repetition of the verse silences these whispers. Every time it is spoken, it drowns out the voice of doubt with the voice of truth. Repetition is not simply a ritual. It is training the mind to return again and again to the certainty of divine supply. At first, the old conditioning of fear will push back, but continued repetition gradually overrides it. Just as a muscle grows stronger through consistent exercise, faith grows unshakable through consistent repetition of truth. When you repeat the verse constantly, you are doing more than calming your mind. You are calling upon universal law to act. Words are not passive, they are commands, and each repetition sends out a signal that reshapes reality, even when the mind is not fully convinced. The consistent repetition begins to reprogram the subconscious and align it with abundance. This subconscious mind does not argue. It accepts what is repeated often enough. This is why repetition works so powerfully. It bypasses doubt and ingrains belief until the truth becomes second nature. When this happens, faith becomes automatic, and wealth begins to manifest with ease. Many people underestimate the power of repetition because they seek instant results after a few declarations. But repetition is not about quantity alone. It is about consistency. The verse must become a living truth spoken daily, hourly, until it permeates every corner of thought. The more it is repeated, the less room there is for fear to enter. Over time, the verse becomes the dominant vibration of your being, and since the universe always mirrors vibration, it responds with prosperity. Repetition transforms the verse from words on a page into living reality expressed in your life. Another powerful effect of repetition is that it builds emotional conviction. At first, the words may feel mechanical, but as they are spoken again and again, they begin to stir emotion. You feel the truth of the words, and this emotional energy multiplies their power. Words spoken with emotion have a stronger vibration than words spoken without feeling. Repetition awakens this emotional connection until the verse is no longer something you say, but something you feel deeply. This feeling of certainty is the point at which manifestation accelerates, because the universe responds instantly to emotion, backed faith. Repetition also acts as a shield. In a world filled with messages of lack, fear, and limitation, the constant repetition of truth protects the mind from being overwhelmed by negativity. Everywhere you look, there are voices that speak scarcity, news reports, conversations, even family beliefs passed down through generations. Without repetition of truth, these voices take root and shape your perception. But when the verse is repeated consistently, it creates a barrier that repels these outside influences. Instead of absorbing fear, your mind remains anchored in abundance. You begin to see through the illusions of lack because the verse has become your filter for interpreting the world. As repetition builds faith, visible wealth begins to appear, not because it is newly created, but because the illusion of separation from abundance dissolves. Resources, opportunities, and ideas that were always available become visible to you because your mind is now tuned to see them. The verse has trained your perception to focus on supply rather than limitation, and so you begin to notice doors opening that were invisible before. Wealth seems to flow in effortlessly, but in reality, it is the repetition that aligned your inner state with the eternal truth of abundance. This process also reveals why persistence matters. Some people abandon repetition when they do not see immediate results, believing it is not working. But repetition is like water wearing down stone. It may not look like progress in the beginning, but eventually the breakthrough comes. Each repetition weakens doubt, strengthens faith, and moves you closer to manifestation. Those who persist in repeating the verse are those who ultimately see wealth appear, because they refuse to let go of truth no matter what appearances suggested. Constant repetition is the pathway to mastery. When the verse is spoken over and over until it is engraved in the subconscious, it ceases to be an affirmation and becomes a declaration of identity. You no longer say the verse as a request, you say it as a fact of who you are. This shift in consciousness is what forces wealth to appear instantly, because the universe must mirror the vibration of truth declared with absolute certainty. At that point, nothing can shake your conviction, and wealth becomes a natural expression of your life, flowing to you as easily as air fills your lungs.